From the dawn of civilization, humanity has been plagued by conflict. Wars have ravaged countless societies, leaving behind a trail of devastation and despair. They have reshaped maps, toppled empires, and extinguished countless lives. But why? Why do we engage in such destructive behavior? What drives nations and people to wage war against one another? These are questions that have haunted philosophers, historians, and peacemakers for centuries. War is not a new phenomenon. It has been a recurring theme throughout human history. From ancient tribal clashes over hunting grounds to modern conflicts fueled by complex geopolitical interests, the story of humanity is interwoven with tales of battles fought and lives lost. Despite centuries of supposed progress, we seem unable to escape this cycle of violence. The question of why wars happen is complex and multifaceted. There is no single answer, no magic formula that can explain the outbreak of every conflict. Instead, we must grapple with a tangled web of historical, political, economic, and social factors that contribute to the outbreak of war. To understand war, we must delve into the depths of human nature, examining our capacity for both cooperation and violence. The quest to understand the causes of war is not merely an academic exercise. It is a matter of profound importance for the future of our species. By comprehending the roots of conflict, we can hope to find ways to prevent future bloodshed and build a more peaceful world. Some scholars and thinkers have argued that war is an inherent part of the human condition. They point to the long history of violence in our species, suggesting that we are hardwired for aggression. From an evolutionary perspective, conflict over resources and territory may have been necessary for the survival of early human groups. This constant struggle for dominance, they argue, has left an indelible mark on our genes, predisposing us to violence. However, this view is far from universally accepted. Critics argue that while humans are certainly capable of aggression, we are also a highly social species with a strong capacity for empathy and cooperation. Throughout history, humans have formed complex societies based on collaboration and mutual support. To focus solely on our capacity for violence, they argue, is to ignore the equally important aspects of our nature that have allowed us to build civilizations and create art, music, and literature. Furthermore, the very definition of war as a large-scale organized conflict is a relatively recent development in human history. While small-scale skirmishes and raids may have been common in the past, the kind of organized warfare that we see today, with its complex hierarchies, sophisticated weaponry, and devastating consequences, is a product of the modern nation-state. This suggests that war is not an inevitable consequence of our biology, but rather a social construct, shaped by the particular historical and cultural circumstances in which we find ourselves. Ultimately, the question of whether war is an inherent part of human nature remains a subject of debate. While our evolutionary history may have equipped us with the capacity for violence, it is important to remember that we are also capable of great compassion and cooperation. The choice between war and peace is not predetermined, but rather one that we make every day through our actions and decisions. The debate over human nature's role in war continues, but it's clear that a complex interplay of factors contributes to conflict. Throughout history, recurring themes have emerged as primary drivers of war. One common cause is territorial disputes. Nations have gone to war over land, resources, and strategic locations. Control over territory provides access to vital resources and strategic advantages. Ideological and religious differences have also been potent sources of conflict. Wars have been fought over religious beliefs, political ideologies, and cultural values. Economic factors play a significant role in the outbreak of war. Competition over resources and trade routes can lead to tensions. The pursuit of power and political influence is another major driver of war. Ambitious rulers have sought to expand their power through military conquest. Defense and alliances also play a role in the outbreak of war. Nations form alliances for mutual protection, but these can create obligations that draw them into conflicts. The outbreak of World War I, triggered by a complex network of alliances, exemplifies how defensive pacts can lead to war. The price of conflict: human cost. The consequences of war are devastating and far-reaching, leaving deep scars on individuals, societies, and the world as a whole. The most immediate and heartbreaking cost of war is the loss of human life. Millions upon millions of people have perished in wars throughout history, their lives cut short by violence, disease, and famine. Each casualty represents a unique individual with their own hopes, dreams, and aspirations, lost forever to the ravages of conflict. Beyond the immediate death toll, war leaves countless individuals physically and emotionally scarred. Soldiers returning from the battlefield often carry with them the invisible wounds of war, haunted by trauma, grief, and the horrors they have witnessed. Civilians caught in the crossfire also suffer immensely, enduring displacement, loss of loved ones, and the destruction of their homes and communities. The psychological toll of war can last for generations, passed down from survivors to their children and grandchildren. War also has a profound impact on the fabric of society. It can erode trust, fuel hatred and division, and undermine the very foundations of civilization. In times of war, basic human rights are often suspended and violence becomes normalized. The rule of law can break down, leading to widespread chaos and instability. The social and psychological wounds inflicted by war can take decades, if not centuries, to heal. Moreover, war often leads to a breakdown in social order and infrastructure. Hospitals, schools, and other essential services are frequently targeted or destroyed, depriving populations of vital resources. The destruction of infrastructure can cripple economies, disrupt trade, and hinder long-term development. The legacy of war can continue to plague societies long after the fighting has ceased, hindering their ability to rebuild and prosper. The price of conflict. Economic and environmental devastation. The economic costs of war are staggering. Nations pour vast sums of money into funding their militaries, developing weapons, and waging war. These resources could be used instead to address pressing social needs such as education, healthcare, and poverty reduction. The opportunity cost of war, in terms of lost human potential and economic progress, is immeasurable. War also has a devastating impact on the environment. Military operations pollute air, water, and soil, leaving behind a toxic legacy that can linger for generations. The use of explosives, chemical weapons, and other destructive technologies can cause widespread deforestation, desertification, and biodiversity loss. The environmental consequences of war often extend far beyond the immediate battlefields, impacting ecosystems and human health on a global scale. The destruction of infrastructure, displacement of populations, and disruption of economic activity caused by war can also have long-term environmental consequences. The breakdown of environmental regulations and monitoring systems during wartime can lead to increased pollution, deforestation, and overexploitation of natural resources.